welcome back. Let's just say I've been away for a while. I did a live stream. If anyone's going to see this, the last uh episode 20, it should be 21. The trial former was the last episode. This will be the trial letter. So let's continue. First things first. There are some things that felt out of place, like the locker was already unlocked. The glove that fell out of the locker must have been the thing. And then there was one incident where I saw one of the lockers didn't have something hanging out of it, but when it slid down back after the whole thing was said and done, had something hanging out of it. Will the court now reconvene for the trial of Miss Luna Sky? Emma didn't come back. Allow me to call the next witness to the stand. The officer in charge of guarding this evidence room on the day of the crime. Witness, please state your name and occupation. Me? Partner. Oh, I'm just a man, same as you, wandering the trails of civilization. Occasionally helping the elderly across intersections when needed. Yes, we get it. Sorry, I still have something wrong with my throat. Oh, I know you're the patrolman. As for my name, if you listen hard enough, you can hear the howling winds calling it out. To be exact, it's Jake Marshall, Your Honor. Howling winds? I've never heard Edgeworth describe that way before. Now, Mr. Marshall, let me ask you something. You were in charge guarding the evidence room on the day of the crime took place. Is this correct? According to the papers, partner. What do you mean? A desperado soul is as boundless as the desert sands. No paper can sum it up. Maybe it's best we get on with this quickly. Perhaps share with us your testimony of the day of the crime. Before we go into his testimony, I want to look at the court records and see what I do and don't have. So, we have the SL9 incident files for Doe Drake killing solved 2 years ago, a video of a security camera placed in the evidence room, Marshall's fingerprints found on a bloody handprint left in the evidence room. The paint had been wiped. The print had been wiped. An unstable jar. Jar picked up, pieced together from fragments found from the crime scene. A piece is missing. Evidence locker. Only assigned detective prints can unlock the indicator. Indicator lights up when it's open. A rubber glove. Tagged with evidence from the SL9 incident. Extremely thin rubber glove. Evidence room floor plans. Goodman's lost report. Screwdriver. Fingerprint set. I don't think we need to do anything with that. An ID card record. Which we still have all 7s on top. Okay, that's testing fluid. The switchblade knife. Victim's shoe. Victim crime photo. Parking lot floor plans. Lina's cell phone. Goodman's note. Goodman's autopsy report. Blue Badger panel. Parking stub. Edward's knife. King of prosecutor's trophy. Goodman's ID. And of course, my attorney's badge. So far, I think we're going to have to do something with this. Marshall's fingerprints. We do know he was in there. That's what we do know, personally. In plain old English, day of the crime. My job was to keep a wary eye on the bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it went down. I'm just an innocent traveling man. So, if you're out of ammo, it's time I'll hit the trail. See that? Okay, I'm going to press on the. He was in the saloon, so yeah. I can't say I particularly care for your attitude. I can't say I care. Can't say I care for your beard, but you don't see me complaining. Wait a minute. What do you mean by 2 security systems? I mean the security cameras and the ID card reader. I reckon even a cowpoke like you knows about those. Well, what about the fingerprint activated locks on the evidence lockers? Fingerprint activated locks? What kind of newfangled doohickeys are those? That means he didn't know. He did not know about that. He's not good with machines or with following orders. Everyone's got their weakness. Now, don't they, Mr. Prosecutor? This one seems like trouble. Okay, Mr. White, he's all yours. Okay. I'm going to have to, like I said, I'm going to present the bloody fingerprints of the marshal at the statement when he says he was at the saloon. Because if he was at the saloon, why is his fingerprints in there? My job was to keep a wary eye on the bone orchard. They said I was supposed to make rounds every 3 times a day, but that ain't my style. Besides, the room's protected by 2 security systems anyway. Actually 3. If I remember right, I was at the street side saloon at the time it went down. I am going to present these marshal's fingerprints found on a bloody handprint left in the evidence room. The print had been wiped. Officer Marshall, doesn't it strike you as odd that you being called in to testify like this? After all, you weren't in the security room at the time of the crime. And yet you dragged me down here. Explain yourself, partner. It's quite simple. You left a very large trail behind at the scene. Or, to be exact, a handprint. Listen real good, partner. Like I said, I'm the caretaker of that crypt. I pay my respects, that is, make my rounds about once a month. You make your round. Wow, you're a bad cop. It's also natural my fingerprints would be in there. I only wish it were, officer. But you see, your fingerprints were covered in blood. Witness. I'm going to check something real quick. Oh, no, it's good. Never mind, we're good. Witness, what's the meaning of this? Your blood-stained fingerprints were at the crime scene. The blood was wiped away, however. The luminol test clearly revealed this. Well, Officer Marshall. Seems to me there ain't a person in this room with a hand on his shoulder. With a head on his shoulder. I take it you have an explanation for this, Officer Marshall? About the blood-stained fingerprints? Very well. You may begin your testimony about your fingerprints. Found at the crime scene. Now he's another thing? Like I said, it's only natural that my fingerprints to be in the evidence room. One of them just happened to be at the same place as the bloodstained fingerprints. The murder touched the locker where my fingerprint was by chance. Bloodstain and the fingerprints are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know the murderer was wearing gloves? See, I had nothing to do with it. I'm going to press. The witness explanation appears valid, although there's room for doubt. Life wouldn't be fun without any doubt, partner. The defense may cross-examine the witness. This guy's hiding something for real. I have an idea. I'm going to press the... Yeah. Which one is it? Fudge. Blood-stained fingerprint. Blood-stained. Oh god, another yawn. Fingerprints. Like I said, this one right here. Like I said, it's only natural for my fingerprints to be in that evidence room. Press. That's because you know, that's because you, how did you put it? Pay your respects once a month? Yeah, that's right. That, and one more thing. The locker appeared to be mine. That locker appears to be mine. What? What do you mean? I mean what I said. That's the locker I used when I was a detective. The locker the locker I still use. All that's in there now though is a heap of broken dreams. Hip. I see. It'd be strange if my fingerprints weren't all over that locker. Apparently, his fingerprints data was never removed from that locker programming. He must have been using the fingerprint lock all that time without even knowing it. Okay. On him. On Marshall's own locker. Okay, Marshall's fingerprints updated. One of them just happened to be at the same place as a bloodstained handprint. The murderer touched the locker where my fingerprints was by chance. The bloodstain and the fingerprints are completely unrelated. Or didn't you know them? Or no one told you. How does he know without a doubt that the murderer was wearing gloves? How did you know that? I may be a loner, but I still do my job. I keep up on reports. There was a blood stain at the scene, though, to be left by the murderer. That's right. That's right. It was found on Detective Gumshoe's locker. However, no fingerprints were detected on that handprint. Oh yeah, I think we tried that too. So, that would mean the murderer wearing gloves happened to place their hand on top of Officer Marshall's fingerprints. That's the only logical conclusion. Are you starting to get the picture, partner? This guy's kind of creepy. I'm not gonna lie. I think he's trying to use intimidation. The picture? This seal of blood in the desert. It's just food for the buzzards. There's only one reality, and that's this. The security tape. So, long as my trail ain't in there, you can't say otherwise. This isn't getting us anywhere, Mr. White. Please consider carefully where you're going with this cross-examination. Yes, Your Honor. Now then, continue our testimony with your testimony, Officer Marshall. Too bad it wasn't me in that video, right, partner? Again, how did you know about the video? How did you know? It was already stated, quote unquote, the detective said that the video was destroyed or erased and everything. And somehow the other Officer Meeseeks or whatever it is had a video of the incident inside. Again, how did you know about the video? Oh my word. What do you mean by that? You want to tie me to this crime? Isn't that right, partner? If so, that video is the only direct evidence you have. But that video is next to useless. It's full of blind spots. Blind spots. Places you can't see. The camera is panning back and forth. The floor isn't shown. If someone was familiar with the camera position, they could leave the room without being caught on tape. We don't have time for your speculations, Mr. White. Well, Mr. White, if you can show us evidence in this video that indicates Officer Marshall was present, please do show. So, I have evidence. His locker. His locker, yes. Show evidence. Very well. Allow me to point out the mistake. Your mistake. Officer Marshall? Tread carefully, Mr. White. You might wind up being the one making the mistake. Now, let's have another look at the video. Show us the incriminating evidence. It's gonna be when it comes back. towards the end. Okay, I'm gonna make sure the pause button is B. Pause is B. Not quite yet. I'm gonna wait until that piece of whatever was hanging out of the locker, because I'm pretty sure I want to present that on Marshall's locker, because it shows Marshall. Ba bum ba 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 da ba ba da ba. Yeah, this is going to be the thing that haunts my dreams. Right there. Right there. What do I push? Present. Bringing your attention back to the security camera is a mistake I'm afraid you'll soon not forget, Officer Marshall. The days are short in Texas, and so are your tempers. Could you sum up what you have to say in 8 words or less? Very well. You can clearly be seen in this video. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, that is 8. Exactly 8 words. Too bad, partner. The key lies in a certain locker shown in the video. Boom. That locker with the white cloth sticking out. That was the witness, I believe. Now, then, let's rewind the video a bit. I told you I saw this yesterday. I saw that piece of cloth was hanging out after yeah. If it was not there, then it was there. Boom, not there. Oh, white cloth is gone. What's the meaning of this, Officer Marshall? When the crime took place, the white cloth wasn't there. Then it suddenly appeared. There's only one explanation. Officer Marshall, you were in the evidence room at the time of the crime. That's what's more, you opened your locker with the camera turned away. Hold the horses. Sorry, partner, but you got the wrong man. So what if my locker was open? That doesn't mean... Oh, he's knife-handing me. He's giving me the knife hand. That doesn't mean I'm the one who opened it. The murderer needed to hide something, so he opened a locker and stuck it in. It's not my fault he happened to choose mine. How? No. No. I'm thinking of something, but I don't know exactly how to do it. Oh, he couldn't have, because the light over the locker. No one could have opened it other than him. So if I have to present evidence, I'm going to have to present the evidence locker, because it shows exactly. It will tell him exactly. Wow, my brain is working too fast. It will explain exactly how they work. And my phone is going off with a Discord thing. Discord. Ooh. Nothing important. Why is everyone staring at me like I'm a wanted man? This guy isn't just plain dumb. He really doesn't know. I hate to rain on your parade, but you're the only person who can open that particular locker. Oh yeah? I call your bluff, baby. I call your bluff. You say I opened that locker. Now prove it. Knife hand, huh? Evidence locker. Only the assigned detective's prints can unlock. Indicator lamp lights up when it's open. Oh, and the indicator light was turned off. Just saying. Fingerprint sensor. We talked about this earlier today. The lockers can only be opened by the detectives they belong to. What kind of crazy talk is this? Well, Detective Gumshoe did mention something about this. In any case, the lockers aren't that obvious. There are even some people on the force that don't know about the fingerprints and locks. And he's apparently one of them. So, Sheriff, what do you have to say in 8 words or less? Right back at you. Trying to be smug with me? Eating your glove? What are you jerking? I only got 1 word for you, partner. No! What was that about? Order, order, order. Witness, explain yourself. If this is a joke, it's the worst I've ever heard. I assume this is no joke, Miss Officer Marshall. Now then, please tell us what you were doing in the evidence room at the time of the crime. Look, please answer the question. What is he on? What is he now? What is he doing? What is he now? A bullfighter? That's all right, Officer Marshall. I believe we can figure the rest out from here. Can we? Now, no, have a look at this. Have a look at these floor plans. There is no place for someone to hide in the evidence room. Yet, Officer Meekins didn't see Officer Marshall. If that's so, then where was the witness? It seems Mr. White Mr. White has an answer. That's right, the only possible conclusion. Well then, let's hear it. Where was Officer Marshall at the time of the crime? I'm just gonna go here. Officer Marshall was standing right here. There, but that's where the victim, Detective Goodman, was. Correct, unless the man wasn't Detective Goodman. I believe the victim in the video is Officer Marshall. It was you dressed like Detective Goodman. This is getting good. But the prosecutor's office, Meekins, witnessed the detective at the crime scene. Once he saw the man's face, he knew for sure. Now, may I point out though, the Officer Meekins did not know Detective Goodman. He also testified that the man's reaction was confounded. When I entered the evidence room, I asked him to show his card, sir. Yes, and how did Detective Goodman respond? He suddenly pulled a knife on me. Something about Officer's story puzzled me. If the man had, are you kidding me? Is it just me, or is that, whatever, is that, had, or is it had his ID card? Why didn't he show it? Yes, he would have needed it to enter the evidence room, so he must have been carrying it. The answer is simple. He couldn't show it. As you can see, Detective Goodman's picture is on his ID card. Oh, I get it. If he'd show that, his cover would be blown. Officer Meekins would have realized the man wasn't Detective Goodman. Do you have anything to say to this, Officer Marshall? You've got quite an imagination, partner. You got a term for that. It's called circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence? He's still denying it. You're going to have to do better than that to break a detective, unless you have hard evidence proving I dressed up as the victim. I can't say I particularly care for this uncooperative decision. I can't say I care for your beard. What? He still says the same thing, but I ain't complaining. Well, Mr. White, do you have any evidence proving beyond a point of a shadow of a doubt? I think I'm going to have to go with the, I have an idea. That Officer Marshall dressed up as the victim? Well, yeah, who am I kidding? I don't have anything like that. I can see the fear in your eyes, partner. Seems like you're the one who couldn't take the desert heart. Heck, this can't be happening. It's so obvious he's the one that can do it. I can do. Let's look at your lock. It looks like your lack of experience has finally been exposed. I'll pass on to you what someone told me when I was starting out. When you run into a wall, there's no place to go. Return to the basics. The basics? For me, that would be what Mia used to tell me. Phoenix, try thinking outside the box. I shouldn't look for proof that Officer Marshall was in a disguise, but rather I should look for evidence that came about because he was in disguise. Why do you think the locker was opened in the first place? What do you mean? There's no reason for Officer Marshall to open his locker. The white fabric is the jacket. At the time of the crime. Yet he did, despite the chance it might be discovered later as it has been. Which means he didn't originally plan to open his locker. According to the defense argument, Officer Jake Marshall dressed up as Detective Goodman at the time of the crime. Then, after the crime was committed, He opened up his own locker for some unknown reason. The fact that the white cloth is sticking out of the locker seems to indicate that. He opened it up in order to put the cloth inside. So, just what exactly is this piece of cloth? Perhaps the video is the key to all this unanswered questions. I don't want any evidence. I don't have any evidence, so this video it's my only shot. Very well, let's take another look at the security tape. After committing the crime, the witness opened the locker and put away the white cloths. Please show us why the victim has opened up the cloth. Ba, 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 ba. There it is, right there. I'm going to present the blood. For the same reason you disguised yourself as Detective Goodman, you entered the evidence room through, I don't know to what end yet. However, something unexpected happened. Officer Meekins barged. Officer Meekins barged in on you. When asked to show your ID card, you pulled a knife on him. However, Mr. Meekins panicked, and the white coat you were wearing was soiled with blood. A bloody white coat. You couldn't just walk out like that, so you hid the coat in your locker. Not bad, partner. Oh, oh gosh. More yawning. Now, then, Mr. Officer Marshall, are you ready to tell us the truth? Looks like I underestimated y'all. I hope you're happy now, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, if you were the only half as patient then as you were today, we all wouldn't have to be here now. Now, would we? Officer Marshall, tell the court what you did, all of it. All right, it seems the time has come. Marshall's confession. I had to do it. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I planned to take out the evidence. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins. I knocked him out and managed to escape. I knew which areas wouldn't be caught on camera. There wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. So, you suppose victim was really you? But there's one thing I still don't understand. Traces of a large quantity of blood were found on the floor of the evidence room. If no one was murdered, then how would that be? Officer Meekins managed to cut his own hand. My guess is he's the donor. It was way too much blood for such a small donation. This one, I'm going to press on all of them. I had to do it that day. I couldn't just stand by and let it die. When you say it, you mean, do you even have to ask, partner? The SL9 incident? 2 years ago, you asked. 2 years have passed since that case was closed. It was going to completely end with the transferal that day. Not if I had anything to do with it. That incident's not over. But what did you hope to accomplish by sneaking into the evidence room? When a case is closed, only that case's lead detective can look through the evidence. I wanted to have a look at it myself one more time, no matter what the cost. I don't care what anyone says, partner. That's 'cause it's mine. But Officer Marshall wasn't in charge of that investigation. Why does he care so much about it? That day was my last chance. That's why I stole the detective's ID and dressed like him. I plan to take out the evidence. Why did you disguise yourself as Professor Goodman, Detective Goodman? If I don't make it look like Goodman was carrying out the evidence transferal, I'll be arrested for stealing evidence, which wouldn't get me anywhere. So you did it to fool the security camera. And the detective's ID card? I stole it that morning of the incident. So that really was why Goodman started filling out that lost item report. I returned his ID card. I left it on the floor in the prosecutor's office parking lot. The ID card I found was left there by Officer Marshall. So essentially, you managed to succeed despite your lack of foresight. What do you mean, Pana? I mean, the fingerprint activated lock, of course. No matter how well you disguised yourself, you couldn't change your fingerprints. Under normal circumstances, you wouldn't have been able to open up that locker yourself. But he could because the rubber glove was just happened to get stuck in the door. That means Detective Goodman must have opened the locker before Officer Marshall. I wasn't expecting Officer Meekins I knocked him out. You pulled a knife on Officer Meekins and tried to drive him off. Let's just say I was a little surprised. I only planned to be being in the evidence room for no more than 5 minutes. I didn't think anyone would actually come in during the short time. Officer Meekins certainly is a one in a million type of person. Making a detective for an intruder and demanding to be shown his ID. I'll have to think a little more about his raise than this year. When did Edgeworth get so much influence? Anyway, he threw himself at me, and I ended up cutting myself slightly. Sorry it had to be torn out this way, with me knocking him out and everything. By the way, what happened to your knife? Oh, you mean this one? I didn't know what to say. So you knocked the officer Meekins out and managed to escape. I knew which areas I wouldn't be caught on camera. So you did your research on beforehand. Those who go into the desert unprepared don't live long, Barna. I didn't think it would make a difference, though. The security tape is erased every 6 hours. If it all had gone as planned, no footage would have been left. However, the blooded on your coat. You bloodied your coat in your struggle with Officer Meekins. If someone was in the security room when I came out, the jig would have been up. I opened my locker and stashed it in there. What was Officer Meekins doing during that time? What else? He was sleeping like a baby. So what are you saying? So what you're saying is, on that day, there wasn't any murder in the evidence room at 5:15. But the blood found at the scene of the currently indicates a crime took place. What are you, blind? The victim shown on that tape is me, and I'm not dead yet, partner. So, you stole the evidence from the locker. Actually, no, I didn't. Why not? When I opened the locker, the evidence was already gone. What? Mr. Edgeworth, where is that evidence? It's still missing, Your Honor. Detective Goodman's locker was already empty. Someone else stole the evidence. The 7777777. Whoever has that number. Officer Marshall, may I ask you one thing? Fire away, partner. It's a free country. Just remember, I'm also free to decide whether or not to answer. Why did you do this? Stealing a detective's ID, injuring a police officer. This is no small offense. Moreover, you're an officer yourself. This will have serious consequences. It can't just be forgiven with a simple cut in salary. Not that salary cuts are ever a valid solution. Like I said, this isn't your case. It's one of mine. And I'll do anything I'll do anything it takes to get an answer I'm satisfied with. Witness has an unusual amount of zeal. Let's hear more. I can't forget the SL9 incident. You know why? Press. But that case only solved 2 years ago, wasn't it? That's the reason the evidence was stored in the room. Joe Dark was convicted for his crimes. One thing I can say for sure, he is deserved of his sentence. I remember the Drake Dale case. In evident serial murders, didn't it? I don't intend to complain about it, but it turned out. But there's something about that still bothers me. Something went down at that trial. Something no one will talk about. What happened? I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. Why is he so concerned with that incident? Maybe I should present him with what I think his real reason is. Let's look at the courtroom records, because I'm going to present on that one. I'm going to have to do this. Okay. Okay, I'm going to go back to the SL9 when he talks about the SL9 incident. No, why? I'm going to present the SL9 incident. Officer Marshall, I think I understand. I think I know why you care so much about the SL9 incident. Sounds like you've been sipping too much cactus juice, partner. I have the SL9 incident file here. The name Marshall is mentioned in here. In the list of murder victims. Neil Marshall. You are related to this man. Neil Marshall? Yeah, I'm sure you heard the name. 2 years ago. Murder since death. Edward Jones. Victims. Neil Marshall. Ed, prosecutor. Edward, witness. Elena Sky. Emma Sky. Executive investigators. Demon Grant. Ed, investigators. Bruce Goodman. Investigators. Jake Marshall. Oh, there it is. Okay. 2 years ago. You received the same lousy prosecutor award you got. What? A prosecutor? Wait, a prosecutor? You must be talking about the King of Prosecutors Award. Now I remember. The prosecutor, Neil Marshall. He handled the SL9 incident before I did. That's right. He was killed. And the case fell into your hands. But what's your relation to you? Oh, he was my brother. He was investigating the murders with Denton Grant and the deputy chief of police. The group of detectives I was part of worked under them. We were desperate to prosecute the killer. Joe Dark. My brother fought Dark and was killed. That was the first time Dark left behind any evidence. That was all we needed. He was arranged and incarcerated, whatever. The case was finally closed, at least according to the public records. What do you mean? My brother couldn't have been killed by John Dorky Dork. I know my brother better than anyone. No one could have beaten him in a fight. And that's your reason for your insane actions? There's more to my brother's death than what the records say. No matter how much you try to hide it, you can't fool me. Well, at least one thing's for certain. Now we know what happened to the police department on the day of the crime. I should have read those. I took a shot in the dark, and when he did this SL9 incident, I should have read those. That was the last day of the SL9 case could be reopened. Not satisfied with the resolution, Officer Marshall planned to steal the evidence. Disguising himself as Detective Goodman, he entered the evidence room. course, Mr. Meekins confronted him, so he rendered him unconscious and fled. Yes, this mystery has finally been cleared up. No murder took place at the police department that day. The things that happen by chance never change to cease to amaze. At exactly the same time as the murder at the prosecutor's office, this fake murder was going on at the police department. Chance? It's got to be more than just that. If no one was murdered at the police department on the day of the crime, that means the murder in the prosecutor's office parking lot was the real one, which in turn means the only person that could have committed the crime, Chief Prosecutor Linda Sky. No! But wait, a verdict wasn't reached in yesterday's trial. Which is why we examined the incident at the police department today. But there's only one reason the defendant was not convicted yesterday. There yet remained a mystery of the simultaneous murder at the police department. It seems to me this boy's got a draw on you, partner. All of the mysteries at the police department has been resolved. No doubt about it. Our sole murder took place at the prosecutor's office. The only suspect is Lana Sky. And the testimony of the one Angel Star is completely incontestable. If you have a response, make it a single word or less. I rest my case. It seems this trial has reached its conclusion. There's no room for doubt. Well done, Mr. White. Thank you. I didn't need to waste my time disproving the alleged murder at the police department. There's no doubt what I proved today is true. Apparent murder on the security cameras tape really was fake, but I didn't realize that would end up proving Lana guilty. Now then, it's time for the verdict. Has arrived. The court finds the defendant. Hold up. What the heck? Oh, what in the world? Your Honor, wait. Emma? The defendant has an objection. Scientifically objection. Right. What do you mean, right? Mr. White? Are you this girl's guardian, Your Honor? Oh, in a sense. Please, Your Honor, all I'm asking for is a minute of your time. Please hear me out. Mr. Edgeworth, please. I don't want to leave any loose ends. You want a minute? I'll give you 3. I was kind of in shock. I mean, finding out the SL9 incident referred to the Joe Donk killings. now that she mentions it. The names of both Sky sisters were filled in. Yep, it was. If I look at it. Court records. And I move here. Luna witnesses. Luna Sky and Emma Sky. But that's when I figured it out. I mean, what Officer Marshall was trying to do that day. So I knew his fingerprints had nothing to do with the crime. That left only one thing, the other handprint. You mean the trace of blood found on Detective Gumshoe's locker? But no fingerprints were found on that, right? No, but I figured if I examined it scientifically, I'll be sure to find a clue. So I ran over and looked at it again. So you did find something? No. Huh? Sorry. I guess I'm not much of a scientific investigator after all. Is that all? Please don't be mad. I'm just a high school student. I am just an attorney. Mr. White, those traces of blood are the only clue we have. If we can't find something wrong with them, please, Mr. White, you're a professional. If anyone can save Lana, it's you. Me? Oh boy. Time's up now. Now then, Mr. White. You, with regard to the incident at the police department, does any reasonable doubt remain? It appears the defense is troubled by another blood mark. But I'm looking at the floor plan. The handprint was discovered around here. Is there a problem with that? Mr. White, sorry, I can't be of any more use. But still, if you can't find anything wrong with that blood mark, Luna will be. Please answer my question, Mr. White. We don't have it all day. Yes, Your Honor. If I ever needed to concentrate, it's now. What could be wrong? What could be wrong with the handprint on Detective Goodsburn's ship? Could there be something I'm missing? I'm going to choose I object. Because it was being blocked by... There had to have been someone else hiding in there. This handprint left at the crime scene clearly shows a contradiction. The only thing that seems clear is you're grasping, Mr. White. We've been staring pretty intently at those floor plans. Tell me, is there a problem with them? Yes, this is strange. Take a good look at the floor plans. Something is missing. Missing? You mean something hasn't been drawn on there? Yes, something that, when drawn, will completely change the meaning of the blood mark. Let us pray the defense isn't simply trying to buy time. Very well, Mr. White. With all this evidence here, there's got to be something I can use. The question is, what item can proves something is missing on the ground floor. It's the Blue Badger, right in front of Gumshoe's locker was the Blue Badger panel. What about that piece of plywood? The Blue Badger, mascot of the police force, defender of truth, guardian of proof. Explain yourself, Mr. White. Please look at the floor plans of the crime scene. The Blue Badger is not here. So, to watch what happens when we put him in. This is where he was dancing at the time of the crime. Well, what? Gasp. That's right. So long as the Blue Badger is dancing here, it would have implied... it would be impossible to place a handprint at this spot in the locker, because he was in the way. I didn't know it was that close. What? So that means... oh god. Just exactly what does that mean? It means it couldn't be done. What are you saying? Blood traces were undeniably found on the locker. Mr. Wright, think it through scientifically. Emma. On that afternoon, Officer Meekins was the one who brought the Blue Badger to the evidence room, right? After he put it down, it would be impossible to leave a handprint on that locker. So, that means this blood mark was left there before the Blue Badger was brought in. Just one moment. I will not allow such far-fetched publish in my court. I mean, it may sound far-fetched, Your Honor, but it's the only possible explanation. On February 21st, in the police department's evidence room, blood was spilt not once but twice. But how? One time was captured on this tape taken by the security camera. I'm gonna have to look at something real quick. Does that have time for the record? 4:20. And then 20 minutes later, he walked in. Camera. Officer Meekins cut his hand from which a trivial amount of blood fell. Problem is, the other time, someone bled prior to the struggle known on this tape. It had to have been Detective Goodman when he was really murdered. That's ridiculous. I refuse to accept your absurd claim. The murder portrayed in the security tape has been proven to be fake. However, that does not explain the blood mark found on the locker. So then, assuming the murder really happened, when did When did it take place? I demand you show evidence that proves when it occurred. When did the first incident occur? That's why I looked at the ID card record. 420. It took place at 420. The dankness. To summarize, the defense claims that prior to Officer Meekins being cut by Jack Marshall, who was just pretending to be Detective Goodman, another incident took place in that evidence room. That's right. The blood mark on that locker proves it. Very well, then tell us, when did this first incident occur? As Mr. Edgeworth said, proof must be presented. Proof that shows when the murder took place. There's only one piece of evidence that I can show them. Now, then, will the defense please present its evidence that shows when the first murder took place? It's going to have to be the ID card record. If the crime took place inside the evidence room, then the killer would have had to enter it. And in order to do so, an ID card would have been required. An ID card. Oh, the ID card record. Officer Meekins brought the Blue Badger panel into the evidence room at, let's see here, 4:50. If the crime took place before that time, then it would be 4:40. Oh. Miles Edgeworth. That's what you have done. Just what I never would have figured you had the nerve, boy. Drop the act, witness. It does not take a lot thought to figure out it couldn't have been me. Nope, I ain't getting it. I'm afraid it doesn't. I don't understand either. It's clear from the liminal test that blood was there. However, when the second crime took place, both Officer Meekins and Officer Marshall failed to notice the blood. That means the blood from the first crime was wiped away by the real murderer. I would have had just 10 minutes to murder the victim, carry his body away, and clean the blood. Unfortunately, that's physically impossible. That would mean the crime must have taken place before Edgeworth entered the evidence room. Yes, all sevens. Let's look at the chart again. There's only one other remaining number. 777777. Talk about a lucky number. But wait, that doesn't make sense. How could Detective Goodman have entered the evidence room? Since there's no record on his card being used beforehand, he must have entered along with the real murderer. That's the only feasible explanation. He went in with 7777777. Mr. Edgeworth, please look into this ASAP. Find out whose ID is 77. Oh, wow. That's one seven too many, Your Honor. Unfortunately, I'm unable to look up the owner of that ID card, at least at present. What? Explain yourself, son. The ID number 7777777 belongs to someone with a rank of captain or higher. Someone who is a so-called executive officer. He doesn't have any authority to inquire into such a person's identity. But that's ridiculous. Just how? I'm not finished talking, Mr. White. There's one situation in which we can be granted such authority. If an officer charged if an officer charged filed against if an official charge filed against an executive is accepted. An official charge? You're all alike, aren't you? With your cover-ups, your outrageous. That's how the prosecutor's office operates. I took pride in my work, Officer Marshall. I would appreciate if you would keep your slander to yourself. Slander? Is it? Okay. Let me ask a question. Yes? No. Not you. To her, the defendant sitting over there. Your own little executive. But Lena? Don't be stupid. She's been charged with murder. Of course, we've looked her up. Of course, we've looked up her ID number, and it's not 7777777. Don't play me as a fool, partner. That's not what I want to ask. All I want to know is one thing about the incident. The SL9 incident? Answer me this, Chief Prosecutor. In that trial 2 years ago, did you really only use legitimate evidence? Do you need the witness to repeat this question, Chief Prosecutor? I heard him fine, Mr. Edgeworth. 2 years ago, I was in charge of the prosecution for this trial. At the time, we felt the powerlessness of the law. Powerlessness of the law. At least I did. Luna, I became the prosecutor in order to surpass crime with the law. But before I realized it, we were the ones being surprised by the law. Surprised by the law. Defendant, just what are you saying? I'll ask you again, Chief Prosecutor. During the trial 2 years ago, did you really present all the evidence in court? Can you look me and investigator? Can you look me, an investigator, in the crime in the eye and say that you did? Chief Prosecutor, you didn't. I didn't have to, Officer Marshall. Why won't you answer him? Drastic crimes require drastic measures. It's just the way it is. We did what we had to do in order for him to get a verdict he deserved. But, Lena, even if it involved forging evidence. See, that's what I'm talking about. No. No! Order. Leonard's remarks caused such a stir. Chaos was waiting until the following day. To be continued. I am now back to zero idea. Can it be the Chief not here? Yes. I'm going to overwrite. It has to be that other detective. I don't know. Gosh, 23 hours I've been playing this, and I'm still on that one. Holy moly. Okay, I'm going to end it by saying I am now at a loss on who it might be. I was initially thinking it was the marshal, but now I don't. It has to be someone higher up. The only thing that's coming to my mind is the head of the chief police, whatever his face is, the creepy guy that stares into your soul. So I guess we'll figure out later. We still have plenty of time. Oh my. So, yes, let's figure this out. Okay. You have a good night, and I hope you have a good day.